Do you have a favorite genre that you like to read when you go on a trip or a vacation? How about when you're on a plane or when you go to the beach? My family and I just came back from a 1 week vacation in Florida, and as I was walking along the shore, I discovered that people were reading actual books. So, a lot were reading on tablets and on their phones, but there were books. So I decided to go on a quest and try to make a list of the books that the people are currently reading when they are on a vacation at the beach. The first one was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Fourth Wing is a fantasy romance novel. It is the first book in the Empyrean series, and it follows Violet Sorengale, a 20-year-old woman who trained to become a scribe. However, her mother, who is also General Sorengale, forces her to enter the deadly Rider Quadrant, where students compete to bond with dragons and to become elite dragon riders. I haven't read that book, but I have heard a lot about it. I think I actually considered reading it, but I was told that it was quite violent, like Game of Thrones, and I cannot stomach Game of Thrones at all. So for now, I'm not going to read it. But I hear a lot of things about this book. The main themes that are developed in this novel that I could find online are perseverance despite physical limitations. Apparently, Violet is quite petite. Truth versus propaganda, loyalty and betrayal, love and trust amid conflicts, and the cost of war and political power. The second novel that I saw someone reading was Silver Elite by Dani Francis. Silver Elite is another dystopian science fiction romance set approximately 150 years in the future. And after a catastrophic war and the release of a biotoxin, part of humanity developed psychic abilities. And these people, known as modifieds or mods, are hunted and persecuted by the authoritarian government that now controls the continent. The story follows Vren Darlington, a young woman who is living in hiding. Vren is one of the most powerful modifieds alive, possessing rare psychic abilities that would lead her to execution if she were ever discovered. And after a series of events, she is exposed to the authorities and forced into the military's elite training program known as Silver Elite. The main themes that are developed in this novel are oppression versus freedom, identity and self-discovery, trust and betrayal, the moral cost of rebellion, and love in times of war. The third novel that I saw was The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. The Crown of Gilded Bones is the third novel in the From Blood and Ash series. It begins immediately after the dramatic ending of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, when Poppy, Penelope Balfour by her real name, discovers that she is far more than the maiden she was raised to be. And as she struggles to accept her new destiny, her and her friend Cass work to rescue loved ones and unite Atlantia and prepare for the war against the Kingdom of Solace. Major themes developed in this novel are identity and destiny, power and responsibility, love and loyalty, political manipulation, hidden history, divine heritage and prophecy, and war, sacrifice, and leadership. The fourth novel that I saw someone reading was The Handmaid's Tale, a dystopian novel by Margaret Atwood, published originally in 1985. It is set in the near future in the totalitarian Republic of Gilead, a regime that has replaced the government of the former United States after a political and religious coup. Environmental disasters, pollution, and disease have caused widespread infertility. And to address the declining birth rate, the rulers of Gilead create a rigid social system in which fertile women are forced into reproductive servitude. And these women, called handmaids, are assigned to powerful men and compelled to bear children for elite families. The major themes that are developed in this novel are the abuse of political and religious power, women's rights, totalitarianism and surveillance, memory and identity, resistance and hope, fragility of democratic freedoms. The fifth novel is The Last Letter. The Last Letter is a contemporary military romance and family drama that centers on love, grief, sacrifice, and healing. It is widely considered one of Rebecca Yarros' most emotional novels, even more heartbreaking than Fourth Wing. The story begins when Beckett Gentry, a special forces soldier deployed, starts exchanging letters with Ella Mackenzie, the sister of his best friend and fellow soldier Ryan. Beckett writes under his military call sign, Chaos, and the two develop a deep friendship through their correspondence, despite never meeting in person. The novel is famous among readers for its emotional intensity, themes of military sacrifice, PTSD, illness, death, family loyalty, and resilience. Many readers described it as a tearjerker. Now, the main themes developed in this novel are love through letters and friendship, friendship to love, grief and recovery, military service and sacrifice, family and parenthood, survivor's guilt and hope in the midst of tragedy. The next novel is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. The Housemaid is a psychological thriller that follows Millie Calloway, a young woman recently released from prison who is desperate for a fresh start. Homeless and struggling to find employment because of her criminal record, she accepts a live-in housekeeping position with a wealthy Winchester family on Long Island. At first, the job seems like a dream. Millie works for Nina Winchester, her handsome husband Andrew, and their young daughter. However, Millie soon discovers that something is very wrong in the household. Nina behaves erratically, tells contradictory stories, and often humiliates Millie. And even more disturbing, Millie's tiny attic bedroom locks from the outside. The main themes developed in The Housemaids are domestic abuse, hidden behind wealth and respectability, manipulation and deception, the unreliability of first impressions, survival and second chances, and female solidarity and empowerment. The next novel, number 7, is The Sentiel by Lee Child. The Sentiel is the 25th novel in the Jack Reacher series. Jack Reacher wanders into another dangerous situation while passing through a small town in Tennessee. As usual, Reacher arrives with no plan, no possession beyond the clothes he is wearing. When he sees a young man being harassed and falsely accused of a cybercrime, Reacher intervenes. The man, Rusty Rutherford, is a socially awkward IT specialist who works for the town government and appears completely incapable of committing the crimes of which he is accused. I do not have the themes for this novel. The number 8 is No Greater Love by Danielle Steele. It's a historical family saga inspired by the real-life sinking of the Titanic in 1912. The novel follows Edwina Winfield, a young woman whose life is forever changed during the Titanic disaster. Indeed, in April 1912, Edwina is returning to America aboard the Titanic with her parents, her fiancé, and her 5 younger siblings. But when the ship sinks, Edwina survives. Her younger siblings survive too, but her fiancé and her parents die. And overnight, she becomes responsible for raising her younger siblings and brothers and sisters. The major themes developed in this novel are family loyalty and sacrifice, grief and healing, duty versus personal happiness, resilience after tragedy, the lasting impact of the Titanic disaster, and second chances at love. Book number 9, The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. The Graham Effect is the first novel in the Campus Diaries series, and it returns the readers to the hockey-centered world of Briar University. The story follows Gigi Graham, a talented college hockey player determined to make the U.S. national team and to step out of the shadow of her father, a very famous hockey player. The main theme developed in this novel are ambition and personal goals, living under the weight of family expectations, trust and vulnerability, friendship evolving into love, teamwork, leadership, and healing from past wounds. Book number 10. I have a total of 14 books. I forgot to mention this. So, number 10, The Most Fun We Ever Had by Claire Lombardo. So, The Most Fun We Ever Had is a best-selling family saga that follows the Sorensen family over several decades. It is centered on Marilyn Connolly Sorensen and her husband David Sorensen, a Chicago area couple whose seemingly perfect marriage has become legendary among their family. 40 years after falling in love, they remain deeply devoted to each other. But their 4 adult daughters are all struggling with complicated lives, secrets, disappointments, etc. And the novel alternates between past and present, showing how Marilyn and David met in the 1970s, married young, and raised 4 daughters. The major themes in this novel are family bonds across generations, marriage and long-term love, sisterhood and sibling rivalry, parenthood, secrets, forgiveness and reconciliation, and the gap between appearances and reality. Book number 11, Our Perfect Storm by Carley Fortune. Our Perfect Storm is a contemporary romance centered on Frankie, Francesca Gardiner, and George St. James, 2 lifelong best friends, whose relationship has been defined by friendship, arguments, loyalty, and unresolved feelings since childhood. As the novel opens, Frankie is preparing for her wedding, but she doesn't know if her best friend, who is now lost, is going to come or not. And eventually, he comes because he's going to serve as the best man of the fiancé. However, the day after he arrives, her fiancé, the morning following his arrival, her fiancé walks away, leaving her only with a note. And no other explanation. The major themes that are developed in this novel are friends to lovers romance. There is a spoiler. Second chances, healing after heartbreak, family and belonging, personal reinvention, the tension between friendship and romantic love, and letting go of the life you design for the one that you need. Coming to book number 12, we are now entering the domain of the nonfiction, and I have only 3 books left. Book number 12 is titled When Nothing Makes Sense, Finding Hope in the Hardest Seasons of Life by Karin Hamadan. This is a Christian nonfiction book that explores how believers can maintain faith and hope when life becomes hectic, confusing, painful, and even unfair. Drawing from scripture, personal experiences, and reflections on suffering, the author addresses the reality that many Christians encounters in the various seasons and in which God's plans are difficult to understand. Major themes: trusting God during suffering, faith amid uncertainty, hope in difficult circumstances, God's sovereignty and goodness, perseverance through trials, spiritual growth through hardship. Book number 13, and we're almost at the end of the list, was The Jesus Style by Gayle D. Erwin. The Jesus Style is a Christian discipleship book that seeks to answer a simple but profound question. What was Jesus really like? Gayle Erwin argues that many Christians know Jesus' teachings but are misunderstood his character. The book invites readers to examine Jesus' life and personality, directly from the Gospels and then imitate his way of relating to other people. The major themes that are developed in this book are servant leadership, humility, the true nature of Christ, Christian character, leadership through service, love and acceptance, and following Christ's example. The last title is the one I was actually reading, and this is the book, The Black Count by Tom Reiss. The Black Count received the Pulitzer Prize in 2012, and it is the biography of a man named Thomas Alexandre Dumas. Thomas Alexandre Dumas was the father of the author Alexandre Dumas. He was born of a slave woman in Haiti. He was himself sold by his father as a slave for 2 years. 2 years later, his father came back to get him and bring him back to France. And there he grew up to become one of the greatest generals of the French Revolution and under Napoleon I during the Empire. It's a book of love, it's a book of fight, it's a book about race and social mobility. But more importantly, it's a book about courage, heroism, and justice and resilience, because he was the victim of a betrayal towards the end of his life. He ended up in jail for 2 years, and that destroyed him. However, Alexandre Dumas had a lot of respect for his father, and his life is actually found in events of The Three Musketeers and other books, and The Count of Monte Cristo. The subtitle says, Glory, Revolution, Betrayal, and the Real Count of Monte Cristo. I will make a video about this book and how it relates to the other works of Alexandre Dumas that I have upstairs. This in the coming months. So in conclusion, I will say this. First, if you haven't read that book, it's absolutely fantastic. So do yourself a favor and read The Extraordinary Destiny of the Black Count. Second, apart from the book I was reading, I haven't read any of the books of that list. Will I read any of it? I don't know. A lot of these books are dystopian genre, and I'm really not big on dystopian. So only 2 were familiar to me. I don't think I'm going to read them, but who knows? Taste changes, affections change, so maybe. Now have you read these titles? Are you familiar with any of these authors? And if you have made it this far in this video, in the comments below, please tell me which titles you have read. Do you recommend them? Are they interesting, violent, relatable? Have you read any of these authors? Or maybe have you seen any movie adaptations? Because there are some out there. Or if you haven't read any of these books or you don't want to actually leave a comment, please drop a book emoji in the comments so that I will know you are there. That really helps the channel grow and get discovered. As usual, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And keep reading. Au revoir.